William. I'm holding up a copy of the Irish Times. Never, ever, ever has a paper seemed so absolutely useless because what happened over the last 12, 16, 24 hours. One thing I can confirm, albeit it's based on hearsay, is that William Kedjanyi has not slept at all last night and is going to catch up on some 40 winks tonight because it was one of those nights. William, welcome to the polling station.
Very pleased to be here. And yeah, it was one of those nights. I will freely admit to two things. Number one, flip-flopping on the presidential race. I did say that Trump would win. I think it was a couple of episodes back at the beginning of this. I then moved to being a hardcore Biden backer. And I did it again last night. I was not actually terribly surprised he lost Florida. It was always tight. It's always a state you would have tips on if you were a layer, but everything else just looks so dire. And when he touched 1 to 4 to be the next president, I despaired and I told the Twitterati I thought it was over. Then sort of 2 hours later, it turned out that there was a bit of a resurgence here. And I'm a bit annoyed at myself for missing that resurgence because, as we all know, Biden's voters were massive users of absentee mail-in ballots. So as such, his surge came later. But that said, it did not look good. And it was just one of the wildest nights in politics I think anybody can remember for a long time. And also in political betting, we had, I think it was about 10 change to favourite.
Wow.
The shortest Trump price being 4 to 1 on. Currently, we're actually 7s on Biden. But we were easily, I think it was 10 and 8 to 11 we were 10 to 11 the pair just this morning. Biden did hit odds on, then he drifted. He went out to, I think, a max of actually 7 to 4, which is remarkable when you consider the fact that people were hammering him at 4 to 11 only a couple of days ago. And here we are, where he's got 224 electoral votes at the time of recording. That's not that far ahead of Trump on 213, but he is eating up the ground in terms of ballot votes. And also, he's very much in the driving seat. He is catching Trump up in Pennsylvania. He's ahead in Michigan. He's in the driving seat, I would have said, in Wisconsin. Nevada looks to be close, but he has realistic prospects, I think, of taking that. And at this point in time, he's 7 to 1 on to be the next president. It's just been an absolutely wild roller coaster ride.
We should mention the proviso / caveat that he's 1 to 7 now, but Trump could quite conceivably be favourite by the time this goes to air. It's been that bonkers. But on a serious note, if you've had a bet with Star Sports on Joe Biden, how confident should you be? And more to the point, when are you going to get paid?
Okay, so you should be, I would not say that you should be counting your money, but I'd say that you have a reason to be hopeful. There are still, for example, 1.4 million or so mail-in ballots to be counted in the state of Pennsylvania. That's very good news for Biden, who was leading the early voting by anywhere from 10 to 16 points at various points I saw. I also think that, you know, he's ahead in Michigan. I don't see him ceding that lead, given the fact that all the Republicans, or most of the Republicans, will have done their voting on the day. I think it's possible for him to catch him in Pennsylvania. He's looking very competitive in places like Arizona as well, which Fox have already given to him. So there are many pathways to 270, and he's not that far away from them. That said, nothing to be taken for granted. In terms of when will you get paid, I'd imagine at the point of the 270 declaration by the Associated Press. I believe that's the industry standard, but don't quote me on that.
In terms of the state-by-state betting, were there any pearlers of results there for the firm, and how did that go?
There were a couple of fairly costly ones, I'd have imagined. We laid about £5,000 on Ohio when we were really trying to get Trump in the books. We laid Florida. We laid Trump for Florida. We laid bits and bobs of, I don't know if it will work out, but we laid bits and bobs of Nevada for the Republicans at 100 to 30. And in general, we took plenty on Trump yesterday, which was something we were happy to do. And it generally tended to be in that sort of sunshine belt, the Midwest, going down to Florida. So Florida was a costly one. Ohio was probably the costliest. And we wait to see what's happening in these last two states. But in terms of absolute pearlers, we were hit hard, I think, by Ohio and Florida.
I have two more questions for you. One, what was Ben Keate's expression like as he was eating into his late night dinner last night as Trump went hot favourite? And secondly, how has this result... and secondly, how has this election worked out for the firm so far?
Okay, so I am not going to reveal everything here, but I can say that we did call each other at various points through the night, and we have been doing so today. Let's just say when he went to bed at 3:41 a.m., he was looking glum, and I was feeling worse.
But you stayed awake.
I stayed awake and was on the Twitter feed all night and had some really great interaction, actually. And I know that some of the people here will be watching this, so I'd just like to thank them all, actually, if I can. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Torrin and Jazz. Thank you very much, Luke. Thank you very much, Mick, Graham, Sam, Ethan, and last, I promise, now it's actually blanked me. I'm pretty sure I mean Ali. And in terms of how the election was for the firm, we are doing okay, I think, on it, because we were at one point really unbalanced in favour of Biden. Everybody wanted to be on him. Everybody wanted to back him. Punters saw a gift horse. They really latched onto that, I think, sort of mid-post first presidential debate. 4-11 was technically value still if you're going just on the forecast. That's a whole other conversation, by the way, the forecast. But we've managed to lay a decent amount on Trump. Punters came for the top price industry offer. They came for the Operation Get Trump. And I think we're doing okay. I think we'll do all right, which, to be honest with you, I'll absolutely grab your hands off for.
Did that really happen, or was it just a mad dream?
We are living in an alternative reality all the time, but unfortunately, this is real. And I know it's real because he's tweeted about it. So that's how you know it's real. Speaking of really unrealistic things, I just never imagined that Joe Biden will be the one giving a speech to a car park full of Jeep owners. I honestly never saw that. Just who in their right minds, everything else aside, would have seen Joe Biden to be the one to go outside and scream at people with enthusiasm who were beeping their horns, and Donald Trump to do the lavish indoor thing, right? But the whole night was just, unreal. And only 4 years until we do it all again.
And William, of course, Simpsons fans will remember, no, on 24. But what does 2024 hold in store for the Americans?
Well, another presidential election, one which we've already got odds for. We've got three sort of big contenders at the head of the field. They are Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Mike Pence. I'd be very much willing to take on Joe Biden for a whole range of reasons. In a not nasty way, age possibly actually being one of them.
Yeah.
He will be 80. But also, actually, his current electoral performance and situation. Now, listen, we don't know who's won yet. We don't, and I really need to stress that. It could be a day or two even after you watch this. But he was expected, the average he was expected to put up was about 350 electoral college votes. He was expected to win like Obama was. If he gets there based on the states he's favourite for, he will do maybe 290 and scrape there by the skin of his teeth. And that will be against one of the most unpopular presidents of all time in the middle of a pandemic. It's not really a very impressive performance. It will be something that the DNC have gotten away with. I get the feeling Harris had their eye on running in 2024 anyway. I think she'll be a big runner. I think it'll be a tricky one for the Democrats to hold on to if they do win this time around, because with the Republican Senate, they are not going to get the chance to implement much of their agenda even in the first 2 years, and that could lead to real splits on their side. I'd be spreading out. First of all, I'd be having a couple of bets from both parties. I'll actually start with the Republicans, because if Trump loses, he has not lost by a lot. He hasn't done it with dignity or any class, but he hasn't done it by a lot. And down ballot, his ticket has held up well, considering the general broad range of the opinion polls and the generic votes. I think the Trumps are going to retain plenty of power in the Republican Party. I think Ivanka and Don Jr. are big at 25-1. I don't think 20-1 is terrible for Donald Trump himself to try and do a Grover Cleveland. But if he gets snagged in his legal issues, then I can easily see it being Don Jr. He's already been on the campaign trail plenty. He's already got the links. He doesn't have the experience, but it's not like he really needs it. And Ivanka already has time spent in premium government positions. I would say probably, if pushed, Don Jr. at 25s. And I'd also say Nikki Haley 16s and Tom Cotton, I think, is 25s or 33s. They are really interesting. Tom Cotton is a senator, has plenty of experience, can really reach across the sort of evangelical ground for the Republicans, but also is somebody who is known as a gun-loving, freedom-endorsing, sort of God-fearing senator from Texas.
Ticks all the boxes.
Yeah, ticks all the boxes, basically. And he was considered for the Supreme Court. Now, I know that might not sound much, given, it was... it's a Trump administration, but that they had a decent enough list of top conservative names, and he was chucked in there. I just don't think he'd go off 33s if he had a run, and he's ready now. I think he's at age. On the Democratic side, if you believe they'll win again, and I really don't think it's a certainty, I don't think Kamala will go off 6s, is what I'm trying to say. But one or two I'd be interested in. I'd skip over Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez and the squad, because I think they...
Two left wing?
Well, two left wing is one worry. The other is that they might also just need more time. They've only been in Congress a couple of years. They're not even senators yet. They'd be great 2028 bets. Great 2028 bets. Because one of them will certainly run, probably Ocasio-Cortez. For the Democrats, I think Kamala's a big runner, 6-1. I would also not be averse to backing a couple of the contenders who ran this time around. Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar, I think, will be there and thereabouts. And the Democrats haven't taken the Senate, so it's not as a bunch of new talent. They haven't really gone up and down the ticket in the same way that, say, they did a couple of years back, or when Obama won or something, or under previous presidents. They look like, at the moment, they're going to scrape to the White House. Klobuchar is prime age. Buttigieg is young, but didn't stop him running this time. I'm not sure how willing they'd be to take on Harris, especially to get jobs in their administration, but they're just speculative. But I really think the value actually is on the Republican side. I think it's on the Republican side, but I don't see the Trumps leaving that party. I don't think there's really a mandate to. They haven't, I don't even know if they've won or not, but they haven't been brutally beaten. This looks like it could be closer than Clinton's was, possibly. And that would be tight.
I think one thing we can safely say is that the market will not be as bonkers as it was in 2020. Thank you very much, William.
Thank you so much, and thanks very much to everybody, your support all over the past few months of the election campaign. It means a lot, especially the people who leave nice comments and are helpful with data and things, and I really like to appreciate it. Also, a big hand to Jordan Cox and David Stewart, who edits this program tirelessly, along with doing a million other things, and my God, it is appreciated. And so is all your viewership.
Two of the good guys. That was the polling station.